Welcome to As the Story Grows. I'm Brian Patton. Today we welcome UK metalcore band 7th Sea to the podcast. 7th Sea dropped their latest single, Pressure, back in September. The guys share one of the best band origin stories I've ever heard, talk about finding motivation after COVID, the struggles of being an independent band, and more. If you're a new listener to the podcast, welcome and thanks for checking the show out. We're currently dropping 3 episodes a week, so make sure you subscribe to the podcast on your podcast platform of choice. A lot of people check the podcast out on YouTube, and if you're a YouTube listener, thanks. You can find the As the Story Grows mailing list on Substack, the podcast community on Discord, and you can support the show financially on Patreon. Links are in the show notes. Enjoy getting to know 7th Sea.
When all the world is just a stage, and I am standing without a gaze. When did I become so numb that I could carry it on and on? I never understood this change until they knocked me down and dug me a grave. I know it's real that I can feel its weight. I can feel the pressure pushing down on me. Pressure, and I can't wait to be free. Hello,
Hello.
you alright?
Yeah, I'm doing good. Is that a jigsaw tattoo?
Yeah, man. I've got the Nun, got Scream,
Oh, fuck
Pennywise, David from the Lost Boys,
that. Nice.
Edward Scissorhands. I'm having a full Michael Myers back piece on Wednesday.
Oh man,
So,
that sounds terribly painful.
I'll let you know.
Yeah. Why don't we just go around and so everybody who's listening knows your voice, say your name, what you do in the band.
Cool. So I'm Evan. I'm one of the guitarists, and I'm the clean vocalist of 7th Sea.
I'm Steve. I do all the shouty boy noises and a little bit of singing in our old stuff. And I did obviously a lot of the clean vocals as well. But obviously, as we've changed and moved around as a band, Evan's come into fruition, and we've made things sound a lot better between us.
Yes.
And Tom's still
Tom's still muted.
no point in being here.
Oh, there you go.
Can you hear me now, guys?
Yes.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
am Tom, and apparently I mute myself and play guitar sometimes.
Nice. Nice. Are you guys all currently in Nottingham?
No, I'm the only one actually in.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're me and Tom, Jack, and Chris are all from down south in Portsmouth,
Okay.
and then Steve's in Nottingham. But we get most of our shows and most of our pull in Nottingham, so we decided to just centralise it to that city rather than spreading it about the UK essentially, and sort of make it more complicated.
Gotcha. Did you guys grow up in the Portsmouth area? Or?
Yeah, man. Yeah, I've been
Yeah,
here
very
since I
much.
was born, and so has Tom.
I met the lads. Obviously, I was in the Navy as a weapons engineer, weapons system specialist, and met the boys whilst I was down there at a gig, and ended up starting a band from that. And then obviously I moved back home when I left the military, and yeah, they're still stuck with me. So yeah.
Nice. What got each of you into music?
Ooh, good question. Well, I started playing guitar when I was like 6 or 7, just had lessons and just carried on from there, really. I think Guitar Hero 3 was a major influence on my rock and metal liking, you know, and suddenly heard Before I Forget by Slipknot, and I'm like, this is the best thing I've ever heard in my life.
Literally.
And it kind of went on from there, I guess, for me.
Yeah.
I think like my dad probably got me into music the most. I was always into multiple different genres of music anyway, but like my dad got me into sort of classic rock, and then he introduced me to a bit of like System of a Down style stuff, and then that sort of like opened me up to like heavier metal, and I just sort of branched out and found my own way really. But yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Tom?
And I started playing guitar primarily just a little bit before I met Evan, and I guess it was having that, you know, like that best friend to like really show you how to play guitar that just got me into it. And he put me onto Iron Maiden, And I was like, oh, this is just it. This is as good as music can get.
Nice. Nice. Evan, you didn't try to get him to play bass or something or drums so you could be in a band? You weren't like, we can't have 2 guitar players?
No. We decided with 2 in the end, to be fair. It's it's hard work, but it's good.
Nice.
We get it, don't we?
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. What was the scene like for you locally, whether in Nottingham or Portsmouth, like when you were like teenager and coming up? Like, were there good local scenes happening of hardcore metal?
I mean, so like by the time I was going to live shows, there was definitely like a decent like setting locally in Nottingham. But I mean, I've grown up going to Rock City and the Rescue Rooms and places like that, and venues that now we've been like lucky enough to play. And it's a surreal feeling knowing that I was there at like 13, 14, looking up at bands thinking, wow, I hope I get to do that one day. And then now we actually are doing it. It's kind of cool.
Nice.
It's sort of a similar thing for us, I think, down here, really. I mean, when we were about sort of 14, we started going to shows. Like, I remember seeing Sleeping with Sirens and our last night in the Talking Heads in Southampton, and like we went to see Heart of a Coward in the Joiners and things like that. And then we've been on the stage in the Joiners like 4 times as a band now, and same as Steve, it just feels great, like to be able to be playing in those same places as these bands that we love.
Nice. I imagine for you guys it was different, like local scenes from when I was like, 15, 16, because it was just like you go to a VFW hall or like a church basement and it's like, I know the headliner and then there's a bunch of local bands and you just like pass CDs around, as opposed to like there was no internet, right? Or like a small internet, right? It's just like there's shows here every Friday, so I show up every Friday.
That's amazing. Yeah, ours are definitely
new bands that way.
Oh yeah. How did 7C get started?
So I went to a gig and I'd had a fair bit to drink, and I was kind of like with a lot of my mates from the forces, and I see this guy and he's like trying to get on this girl and she's like literally having none of it, and I was like, you may as well just chin that off, mate. And he's like, no, I'm gonna buy her a drink. I was like, just don't bother, mate. You can see she's not bothered. He's like, oh, okay. So what do you do then? Are you in a band or whatever? And I was like, no, mate. I said, like, I'm in the Navy. I don't really know like many musicians around here. He'd heard us like singing and screaming and that behind him. And he was like, oh, you're decent. You should be in a band. And I was like, yeah, no, I don't know anyone, mate. And I said, I used to play drums when I was younger. And when I played drums, I couldn't find a vocalist. And then now I do vocals, I can't find a decent drummer. And he's like, that guy over there plays drums. And I was like, yeah, how convenient. I was like, I bet he doesn't know anybody else. And he was like, well, his brother plays guitar, his best mate plays bass, and his brother's best mate plays guitar as well. So you've pretty much got a full lineup. And I was like, well, we'll have this conversation when I'm sober tomorrow. So I gave Chris, our drummer, I gave him my number, and I messaged him straight away as soon as we left. And I thought, like, this could be something good here. Like, it depends sort of like what sort of music they're into. If we're into the same sort of things, then quality, like, I'd be interested in starting something. And somehow we've made it this far. That was in like 2016. So.
I was going to say it's like 7 years
Back
on.
in the day.
We're still going, boys.
That's so funny. That's like probably one of the coolest origin stories I've heard of how just like it was like, oh yeah, all these guys know each other and you just start a band and then it worked.
Me and Evan didn't know what to think.
One.
Me and Evan were like 17 at most, turning up, and Evan's brother Chris would have been like 19, and Steve, you must have been like 21, 22.
Probably, yeah.
And it was just crazy. I remember Evan messaging me like, do you want to be in a metal band? You're going to need a 7-string guitar.
And that is definitely needed to be a metal band.
Prerequisite.
Yeah. Where'd the name come from?
To be honest, I think, well, we were originally called Pariah, I believe, but there was like a DJ with like billions of followers and thought, that's probably not the best route to go down then, is it? So we were like looking at different ideas, and I was like, oh, cool, like we live in like we're in Portsmouth at the time, so we're like, oh, we're by the sea, and we're like, oh, we're talking about different concepts about 7 deadly sins and things like that. And I realised that numbers populated at the top of lists. So like if you got featured on a list or anything, it goes numerical A to Z. And I was like, let's just do something edgy that not many people do, and just start the band as like 7th C, but use a 7 instead of an S. And I drew up like a random logo on a bit of paper, and everyone was like, that's actually not that bad.
That's it. Yeah, we were like, that's it. That is the band right there.
You reap what you sow. Make your decisions and what you fall. Thinking you're clever with your broken logic. And watch what's life is like. Drive on your eyes. When it collapses from the glass.
Let's talk about kind of COVID and how that impacted the band. I know you guys released Betrayer February of 2020, and it was not long after that everything shut down. Like, did you guys have plans and a trajectory you were looking at that just got completely fucked like everybody else?
It definitely put a break on us, I think. Like, is it not a break from the band? We were all still chatting, still writing and stuff. Like, me and Tom were doing it over remote writing and everything like that.
Yeah.
And I was doing everything on my PC, and he was discussing, we were doing riffs together, all that kind of stuff. But it definitely made it a lot harder in terms of releases, music videos. Like, obviously with Steve being in Nottingham and us being in Portsmouth, there was none of that, oh, let's travel up to him, let's get these vocals recorded, let's write this music together. It was all remote. So I mean, it probably affected loads of bands exactly the same, but yeah, it definitely put us in a bit of a crap position for a while, I must say.
Yeah, like, oh, can you record vocals in your spare bedroom, Steve? And I was like, I've never recorded vocals, but I mean, I'll try.
Yeah.
I want to do a music video for this or a visualizer. Let's just film on a blank wall and see what we can do with it.
Literally.
We got through it.
I think
we did, yeah.
I actually think, looking back, I'd argue that we made the most progression musically through those years. Because before that point, I know that, like, writing music, it was something that me and Evan did a lot, but we'd all kind of sit in a room and try and have a go at it, get distracted and stuff. And if I'm honest, I think COVID in that sense was really good for us, that we were able to hone in how we wanted to do music, specifically what we wanted to make, and really like started to embrace a sound that we were happy with.
Yeah 100%.
Yeah I imagine it's tough for, like, you know, music, the way the music industry functions now, right, with streaming and YouTube. Like, you can kind of control your own destiny and get things out there, but, like, you know, it sucked if you were Slipknot and Hatebreed and Killswitch, but, like, you're a new band, you're up and coming, and it's like, you're definitely bottom of the barrel. Was there any thought that, like, maybe we won't make it through this? Maybe this is the end of the band?
Yeah. 100%.
I must say, even like coming out of lockdown and just getting back into it, it's definitely been a bit of like trying to scrape ourselves out of the like, oh, is it worth it?
Off of the floor. Yeah.
You know, we've gone back down again. We need to get all these gigs. We're struggling to get gigs because it didn't all come back straight away, did it? It was like slowly sort of rising back up with the venues opening again and stuff. So it definitely was difficult as a band to get through. But
it was finding the motivation that was the hardest bit for me. It was like, how do you be motivated when you can't leave your house?
Yeah.
You're locked down. You've got all these ideas and all this stuff you want to do, and you can't do any of it. So it was difficult to stay motivated through them times. And then when we came out the back end of it, obviously, as Evan said, even though we were back out of it, things didn't happen overnight. Then you got to have like COVID vaccination passes and that to even get into a venue and stuff like that. So you weren't guaranteed to have a good turnout, even if you normally would, because some people didn't get vaccinated, other people did, and it was just like, do we try and limp through, or like what's the actual plan here? But yeah.
Because I know, like, in the States, there was a day where like collectively people went, fuck it, we're sick of it, and like COVID's over and lockdown ended everywhere. And like, but I remember I went to London last April, and it was like the plane ride over there, you're in the mask, and then it arrived to the airport, and it was like, yeah, you don't have to wear your mask in the airport. And I was like, oh, I don't know how I feel about that. That's
literally.
Yeah. Talk to me about like the touring scene, and because I know, like, here once things opened up, it was like all the big bands took all the tours, and if you were a smaller band, it was a struggle. You said getting shows is a struggle. Was it like that there too, where it's like, you know, it's you're fighting tooth and nail with every band in the UK or Europe?
Yeah, I don't know
Yeah.
if you want to elaborate. Yeah, it's very niche as to where you can get pitched for. Like, obviously, because everything was diluted down through COVID and a lot of bands like filtered out, and the bigger bands that had the finances to keep putting into their projects and that obviously took everything over. There wasn't at first a lot of smaller shows that you could just get on. It was like, oh, Partway Drive are doing an arena tour. It's like, well, we're definitely not playing that, are we? Yeah. We got 2,500 likes on Facebook. I don't think we can pitch ourselves for these, but obviously, like the people with the most money through COVID and that obviously did a lot better and came out the other side way better. But as like 5 young lads that have all got their own houses and stuff like that, it's difficult to put as much in and pitch yourselves out the back of a global pandemic to try and get yourselves them slots that you need. But
I think as well, like, very much from a venue perspective, a lot of stuff that I saw even when we started coming out of lockdown here in the UK, a lot of venues, a large proportion of them actually shut down. And so I think the ones that remained open, they didn't want to book you on a headline or a support slot unless they thought you could pretty much sell it out. Not literally, but they wanted to know that you could guaranteed push tickets. There had to be no question behind it, because they just couldn't afford to lose the revenue, which makes good business sense, but it just made it so tricky from a band perspective to get on these shows to convince someone I can actually sell tickets.
Especially at such an early stage in the band as well, like going through that timescale where you can't physically play any shows. How do you prove to a promoter then, oh no, I can get people to come to a show, when you've not necessarily played that city in 2 odd years and you've got nothing to sort of back it up? They've got to take a chance on you for you to be able to prove, oh, I can get these numbers, or we can get X amount of people in a room. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. I think that's kind of where we actually decided we're a Nottingham-based band, because I think we got like 1 or 2 shows in Notts off the back of lockdown, and we were just like, right, we are selling tickets here. Let's just say that we're from this city, because Steve is anyway. Let's just centralise ourselves there and try and build from Nottingham rather than from South. If that's where we're getting the shows, let's just keep riding there and trying to sell more tickets. Because that's where we can prove ourselves, I suppose.
Yeah. I know after lockdown, I'm in Washington, D.C., and all like the smaller venues that aren't like owned by some big corporation, they all closed down. So it's like, man, if you're a new band, where the fuck do you play now?
Literally.
It is savage.
Yeah. You guys released a few singles in last year, and you're releasing stuff slowly this year. Has that been a thought process of like, let's slowly reintroduce ourselves and get our name out there? Or is it just like, hey, this song is done, it's good enough, let's put it out there and not worry about focusing on an album, just have something that's constantly putting your face out there?
Yeah, so we I think like before we released our single Blue in December, we were very much just like, as you said, on the second option is like, we just sort of wrote a song, went, yeah, that's good enough, get it out and just keep moving. But I think from Blue onwards, Blue was the first song that we wrote that was really like consistent and like a coherent sound that we thought, actually, I think we could really get along with this and move forward with it. And then from then on, we've done our most recent release, Pressure. And I think this is our first sort of keys towards what's to come sort of thing. That's our sound now that we feel like we've properly worked on and built as a band over these years that have been hard and stuff. And now we're coming out the other end. We've got Pressure. We've got all these other songs that we're ready to release. And now it's just starting to build it all together and really make 7th Sea like a face that can be known off that sound.
I mean, we want to put like as much as we can into each release too, and make sure that we're doing it the right way. So obviously, as I mentioned earlier, financially, like, it takes a lot of money to get yourself where you need to be and to put that single or that EP out there. We've got so many songs that we've like filtered out and made sure that we've got like a good set of songs that you would theoretically use for an EP or something now. But we don't want to just put all of our money into just getting an EP out there and waste opportunities and growth that we can make by promoting releases a little bit better. So it made more sense to us when we've had like band meetings in the past to sort of like structure it as like single releases, so we can put a bit more into like the PR of that release. And we've got stuff lined up, and I think the potential idea will be to do maybe like a collection at the end of releasing these, but and throw a couple of extra tracks on it or something like that. But we more want to focus on the single releases, and let's get the finances sorted for this release, and let's do 100% what we want with this release and see where it takes us. And if we can grow gradually, by the time we drop whatever we decide to drop as a collection, hopefully we're a bit more established, we've got a bit more following on our socials, and people know who 7th Sea is, not from an EP that we released in 2016 or whatever, but for who we are now and the quality of music that we're releasing now. We've got more of a footprint on the scene, and we'll continue to just keep showing who we are and turning up, basically.
Yeah, it's more focused, and it's like, this is the song, and we put money into recording the song so it sounds professional, and we have a video, and this has a month, 2 months to grow, and then boom, here's another one that's fresh, instead of here's 6 songs, and people are like, okay, 6 songs, and you spend a day with them and you move on.
That's the thing, isn't it? Really, when someone releases an EP, you might have 2 favourites, and you discard the other 4 songs that they've put just as much money into writing and that. But we're in a position now, not to sound big-headed or anything, where I really like every single song that we've written. And normally I think, they're the strong 2, but the ones that we're sat on at the minute, I wholeheartedly believe in. So to be in a position where I'm like, I don't want any of these to just be cast aside while people favourite just 2 songs on. Let's put everything we've got into the releases, and people can decide which one they like at the end of it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I think as well, something that I know, like me and Evan have become more and more critical on as time has gone on, is self-reflection. The amount of times that we have written a song, and you might not even really know this, Steve, we will decide whether to do a song or not based off your reaction when we show you in a chat. If you don't say you love it, we both say to each other, we're putting it in the bin and we're starting again. It doesn't matter that we spent 20 hours on it. I don't mind, because I want you to sit there and go, oh my God, we need to release this tomorrow. That's what I need out of you.
Honestly, every song that we like, every song that we're sat on that we really love, it's because Steve has gone like, lads, this is the next one we're releasing. And he said that for the last 3. That means it's really good. If he just goes, that's sick, lads, we're like, nah, bin it off. Next one.
It's not good enough.
It's not good enough.
Oh, man. That's funny. Steve, you talked about like how hard it was to find like motivation to like do the band again. Did that impact like writing? I don't know if you write lyrics, but like, does that impact your writing and like what you want to say, to just be like, oh, I don't know what to say now? Like,
yeah, kind of. I mean, like, I've gone through like a weird like stage of my life where I've become a dad. I've left the military. I've been like used to that my entire adult life. I've had like a set disciplined background to then walk into like a civilian setting whilst trying to keep a band going through a lockdown and trying to learn how to be a dad, and accepting that there's not necessarily a right answer for all of my problems. I've just sort of got to adapt and overcome to like an ever-changing world. Definitely like my mental health dipped and gone up and down and changed, and I've definitely had a lot of influence through what I've experienced to write more. And obviously pressure talks, you can interpret it in whatever way you want, but it's addressing basically all the external pressures of life that are pushing on you and working out if you can find that light at the end of the tunnel and push through. So for me, massively, like us 3 tend to write lyrics together. Originally, it would normally just be me and Evan, but Tom's a real asset to like lyrical writing. We tend to come up with an idea, do a similar sort of setting to this, and we'll listen through to the track, and we'll pitch sort of ideas with each other and sort of build a track that way. I tend to go quiet for a bit and try and process what I'm listening to. And
sometimes Steve will tell us, he's like, I need 5 minutes, boys. I'll ring you back, and he'll literally ring us back. And he's written a whole verse. And we're like, brilliant. And we're like,
happy days, man.
Unreal.
This is it. I just need the quiet. But yeah, man, like, so for me, like with writing lyrics, I've always been good at putting words together, whether that was in an email for work or writing anything or structuring anything really. So songwriting, to be able to take stuff from my own head and experiences I've had, or I'll write in a way where you can interpret it in multiple different ways, but I might be writing about someone I've experienced or something I've experienced, and I'll word it in a way that you think it's about something totally different. But to me, I totally understand where I'm going with it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Nice. You guys just put out this new single, Pressure. It's phenomenal. What's
Thank
the future look like? What do you have plans for this year? I mean, shows are tough, but like you got more singles on the way, I'm sure.
Yeah, man. So we've
very much so.
We've got a show in October. We're headlining the Hairy Dog in Derby on the 18th of October. That was really cool. We got the number one spot for being voted for the Altfest sort of voting system, didn't we? Don't know how to describe that.
Yeah.
But we got
chosen by you day basically, and they put together like you obviously entered into it, and then they shortlisted people, and then all the bands that were left they put down to a vote, and you went onto like an online portal and had to select who you wanted to play, and the person with the most votes headlined, second most votes was main support, and etc. And they picked 6 bands, and that's how it worked. But by some form of miracle, we're headlining it. So people obviously want to see us in places. Yeah,
we were unsure whether we would be on it full stop. Honestly, I remember we were like, are we going to get on it? We're like, well, boat's probably sailed, boys, whatever. And then it came in, we've won it, and we were like, what?
Nice.
Okay.
So yeah, we've got that coming up, which is a cool show to have. I think in terms of the end of the year, we're going to aim for another single, I believe. Hopefully with a music video sort of similar to Pressure, really, with this release. I think that's the main goal for the band, and then we've hopefully got a weekender in the works for the start of next year, like very early, I think January. So that's kind of where the band's at physically at the moment and the plans, but they will hopefully be adding up, so we'll get more as Pressure is.
I feel like every release we want to make sure it grows more. We want to see that growth from one release to the next release. So not necessarily like, that got this many views, I need to get more views than that, but like you want to see more interaction, more engagement on things, and you want to get people to come back. So obviously we've been getting comments and that on our YouTube, like saying from all over the world, saying how much they like it, and we're getting people that are like, we're here because of Blue, or we're seeing things get popped up on our other videos where they're like, we saw Pressure, we've come here. So it's cool to see that growth and to see people engaging throughout our platforms off this release. So for every release, like whatever comes after Pressure, I'm not saying anything now, we just want it to grow and to be bigger and better than before.
Like me and Evan constantly have this thing where we're like, we just need people to hear it. Like really, I so wholeheartedly believe in what we're doing. Like Pressure's good, and I know every band's like this, but honestly, give it 6 months, wait to see what we drop, because it honestly will be better.
That's the hardest thing. It's just getting people to listen. We've been lucky enough we're about to put a post out in about an hour to say that we're going to be played on Kerrang Radio on Wednesday. But even that, we were pitched twice before they actually listened to it, and then they listened to it and they were like, "Oh, okay."
Actually, this is amazing.
So it's just difficult to get people to give a shit when there's so many other people doing what you do, and you've got to stand. You've got to stand out, and for a smaller band, you've got to have a reason for people to give you the 4.5, 5 minutes that you've got in a track, and to want to give a shit about your band. So we're just going to have to try and put ourselves in better positions and pitch ourselves better with each release, and hopefully do more tours and build more traction behind the band, so people go, 7th Sea dropped a new song, I want to talk about that.
Go check that out.
Please, can you listen to this? I promise it's not shit.
It's tough. It's a big C. I was telling somebody earlier, I was like, I have like 24 new releases on my desktop right now that I've not listened to, that I'm like, I'm going to get to them eventually. I will. But there's so much all the time.
I do it even with bigger bands now. Well, they've dropped an album, I'll listen to that later. And then I'm like, I could have sworn I was going to listen to something. I can't remember what it was. And then 2 months later, I'll be like, I didn't even listen to that. And I think, that was brilliant. But it wasn't listened at the time that the band wanted it to be pushed. You know what I mean?
I know.
I can't wait to make friends. Feel these blurry lines. I will feel forever.
Thanks for listening to As the Story Grows. Our intro music was written and composed by Jeremy Hunt. The As the Story Grows theme is by Bob Nana. If you like what you hear, subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and give us a rating and review. If you'd like to support the show financially, you can join us at patreon.com/asthestorygrows. Be a part of our community and join the ongoing conversation over on Discord. If you enjoy this episode, share it on social media with your friends. Much appreciated, and thanks for listening.
I never thought